No matter what a business does to make a profit, they all run on communication, information, and technology. The ability to communicate effectively is at the base of all businesses, whether it's with each other, their customers, or their vendors. The exchange and use of information is also key to being a profitable business. Technology is often the vehicle to communicate and use information. When you think about business, no matter what they do, their competitive success lies in communication, information, and technology. Because our system relies on helping businesses reach their strategic objectives and financial goals, you need to understand what businesses need and why. This may seem elementary, but a comprehensive knowledge of the needs of a business will help you be a better broker and help you to be more effective in gathering information through the discovery system. Let's begin with communication. It's safe to say that unless a business effectively communicates, it cannot be successful. People within the business must communicate with each other to be successful. This includes everything from voice, video, faxes, instant messages, data, and email. This is also true of communications with customers, but now includes marketing, value propositions, and message conveyance. Finally, businesses must be able to effectively communicate with their suppliers, vendors, and providers. As you can see, communication is critical to a business's ability to be profitable. However, it's important to note that all forms of communication outside of face-to-face have converged into data. Voice lines, email, video, instant messaging, and faxes are all converted into data at the point of entry and sent to the destination. Therefore, almost all communication is transmitted as data. Although this simplifies some aspects of communication, it also expands it by volumes in what can be done with that data, how it can be used, what applications process it, and the effect it has on the business. The most recognizable form of communication is voice. We think of this as a telephone or a telephone line. Most people do not understand the complexity of this simple tool we use every day. Having a telephone that can connect to any other telephone someplace else is a complex set of components. This gets more complex when you understand that what most people consider telephone lines are not actually dedicated to the telephone they are using, but are part of a bigger system that uses aggregation and technology components to create a reliable and versatile system. To understand this concept, we have to change the way you think about telephones. Most people think that when they pick up a phone and hear a dial tone, they are connected to a telephone line. This is no longer true. Remember that everything has converged into a single core technology, data. Faxes, email, voice, video, and instant messaging are nothing more than converted data passing through a network to a destination that understands how to represent the data at the end user or application. Here's something that may help your understanding. At the point of conception, data is created by a device. This could be in the form of a telephone, a cell phone, a computer, a fax, or maybe even a camera. At this point of conception, the communication is converted into data, typically called IP or Internet Protocol, that can then be transmitted to another device. That other device will decipher the data and reconstruct the information. For example, a piece of paper is loaded into and scanned into a fax machine. The information on the fax is converted into uniform, standardized data. It now needs to be sent to another device where it can be reformed and turned back into useful information. It needs to be transmitted across a network that connects the two devices. To transmit the information between these devices, you need some sort of interconnected network. There are many different networks and even more ways to use networks that we will explain in a future training. For now, let's look at the concept rather than the specifics. In this case, we are going to create a pipe from one end user device to another. This pipe is nothing more than a pipe. It has nothing in it. As of yet, there is no way to transmit the data. Now that we have a pipe, we can add whatever connections we need in order for the data to be transmitted from point A to point B. We could add dedicated voice lines, video connections, and data streams, or we can install multi-use connections to handle all three and more. We could add one line, dozens of lines, or hundreds of lines in the pipe. We could use the pipe only for data, or we could mix and match. There are several types of connection technologies that can be used by themselves or in conjunction with others. Now that we have connections in the pipe, there are additional areas of detail. Dedicated phone lines can connect with the telephone on each end of the pipe. But if the connections are multi-use, we need to use technology at each end of the pipe to properly recompose and reassemble the information in a way that can be used by corresponding end-user devices. As everything is converging into data, these devices can come in different varieties, including standalone units that then routes the information to the end user device, or inside the end user device itself. With devices on both ends of the pipe, connections inside the pipe, and devices to convert information into data, you have a simple network. Now let's expand this simple illustration further. Devices are rarely at the end of a single pipe. They are typically at the end of an unbelievably large network. Think about the telephone network or the internet. The devices could be on the other side of the city, state, country, or the world. However, the basic concept is the same. The difference is there are many, many pipes. Inside these pipes are many different connections, some dedicated to specific companies or tasks, but most are not. They are used in an aggregated way. In order for your data to go from one device to another, it has to travel through several pipes. In order for the information to do this, they have to pass through points that route the data to another routing point until it reaches the destination where it is transmitted to the receiving end user device. We realize that we're boiling down a complex set of devices, technology, and systems into a rather rudimentary example. However, at this point, this is all you need to know. You don't need to know how your remote control works to turn on your television. You just need to know what button to push. It is the same concept here. Routers route data to other routers until it reaches the destination that will transmit the data to the proper end user. This is true of voice, video, email, faxes, and all data. Businesses need to buy into a network, or more accurately, they need to buy a connection into one or more networks. The internet and phone lines already exist and are paid for by fees built into products, capacity, and functionality of those who use it. However, a business needs access to those networks. They need pipes with connections that fit the need of their business, which leads us to a place where they gain access to the network. Businesses also need devices to create, disassemble, transmit, route, assemble, receive, and use data. These are phones, routers, computers, mobile devices, fax machines, and anything else that creates, uses, or transmits data. Think of all the devices that you have worked with. All of them connect in some way to something else. These devices need to work in concert with each other to fulfill the purposes of the business. The better they work together, the more time they have, the more communication can take place, and the more money a business can make. As voice, video, faxes, email, and instant messaging becomes data, there is one other area that needs to be discussed. The future of most communications, information, and technology will reside in the cloud. Cloud-based technology is multifaceted, complex, and ever-increasing. It can be hard to explain technically, so we will use another simplified version to help you understand. We will use a business view of the cloud. The cloud is nothing more than centralization. Once, when computers were in their infancy, there was a large centrally located mainframe computer that had all the data, applications, and processing power. Dummy terminals were sent out to the departments. These computers connected to the mainframe and could access data, applications, and use the processing power. At this point, computers were hard to use, hard to connect, and special skills and expertise were needed to use them. All of the intelligence and data was centralized, and the input and output devices were decentralized to each user. Later, when personal computers developed to the point where many people had them on their desks, the intelligence and much of the data became decentralized. The interoffice network still passed the data and information from device to device, but the intelligence, application, and processing power was on the desk, not in some large computer room. Later, when the internet was developed, every device was connected to many other devices. This exploded the number of end-user devices. The number of data sources that could be accessed and allowed downloading to the computers became easy. And then, this was an effective way to decentralize all but the connections. Everything could be shared and transmitted over the network in a scalable, decentralized model. The cloud represents a move back towards centralization with a combination of both previously used systems, taking the best of both worlds. What the cloud represents is a centralized system. Some applications are hosted centrally while others are decentralized. The cloud standardizes data transfers to more than just computers. Think of it. Mobile devices, and there are also other stationary connections that most people would never have thought should be connected to a network. Data and information can be used by the end user from multiple places and devices, but kept safe in a centralized location. Think of it this way. You own a business where all of your salespeople use the same customer resource management database for all of its clients. Where the database used to be stored on each person's computer, it's now stored in a central location where salespeople, with the proper credentials, can access the data at any time, in any place, or on any end-user device to use and manipulate as needed. The database is stored in the cloud, yet the information can be used by the salespeople in a media-rich environment using the processing power of their device. How does the cloud affect communications? It affects it in every way possible. The devices used to process, assemble, and control data can now be housed in the cloud. For example, you can have an entire phone system in the cloud. Coworkers no longer need to be in the same office. They can be in another state, across the country, or around the world. The end user's device plugs almost right into the internet and can have the same functionality as if they were all in the same office. Businesses now have endless possibilities when it comes to communication. There are hundreds of providers and thousands of products ranging from end-user devices to pipes and lines to connection points to cloud options. However, none of the complexity really matters if we forget they only exist to help the business reach their strategic objectives and financial goals. It can be the most amazing technology ever, but if it does not increase ROI or profits for a business, it is not useful to that business. As a new broker, it's important not to get caught up in the fads or coolness of a certain technology. Your job is to find the right technology to fit the client's needs. Learn to understand that a client does not want something that is cool. They want something that works. They want something that works long term and enhances their business and helps them succeed at their strategic objectives and their financial goals. Businesses need more than communication. Though, as you will learn, these other needs are often intertwined with communications, pipes, lines, connections, and networks. Businesses are often built on the data they create, discover, exploit, store, or use. This data is critically important to the business. Therefore, where it is stored, accessed, and used is just as critical. Businesses need secure data transmission and storage. They need to access data in many places, both in the office and on the go, and remotely. They need to control and secure the data so that only those with proper credentials can access it. They also need to back up the data so that it is ensured that it will never be lost or corrupt. Applications and equipment to access, convert, analyze, or use data are also necessary for businesses to succeed. Businesses often need specialized applications both on end-user devices and in the central location. These are separate from general computing programs like Microsoft Office. Specialized applications are often industry-specific. They are called line-of-business applications. On occasion, you will be able to offer solutions that are application-based rather than hardware-based to meet your client's needs. Data and applications represent an opportunity to help businesses succeed as part of a comprehensive plan. As a new broker, there are opportunities to help businesses explore options to centralize aspects of their data and applications into the cloud, to increase redundancy and security, and to create solutions that allow them to get more out of their data and their applications. Our job is to help explore what can and should be centralized and what can and should be decentralized. This leads us to security. Although it is not first in the training, it is often a critical component to a successful business. Think of it this way. A business runs on data and work through communications. If either was not secure, the business is at risk. Security is everything you can think about for their data security and much more. Companies need to create and build smart and effective security as fast as thieves can figure out ways to beat that security. Security is vast and complex. Again, it is not the point here to make you an expert, but rather help you to understand that a business needs to secure data, people, assets, knowledge, and proprietary information. An unsecured business is at risk of losing that which it does to make a profit or provides a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Imagine if everyone knew the recipe for Coca-Cola. Another concern for business, which represents a need that you as a new broker can supply a solution, is management. This does not mean that you are providing solutions in management of their business, but rather in management of the moving parts and pieces of communication, information, and technology. Imagine having contracts with providers for end-user devices, mobile phones, computers, lines, connections, data security, backup, redundancy, specialized applications, security of assets, people, communications, and data. Managing the annual contract alone is a daunting task. Now throw in new devices as the business expands or advances, changes in services, branch office moves, new employees, terminated employees, new projects to consider, and the renewal of existing contracts. As a new broker, you'll be able to offer applications and professional services to help in these areas, to provide solutions to meet the business's needs. Businesses have additional needs that are hybrids of what has been presented. These hybrids are based on needs and business objectives. Often, a hybrid is a more complex system, a custom build, or a specialized project. These needs will come out of the discovery meeting as you ask the questions that we have designed in the discovery system. You don't need to know all the needs that the company has. They will present themselves. What you have to focus on is building your knowledge with every meeting, following the system, and working with your team. Currently, this may seem overwhelming, but have hope. This section has several courses that are intertwined and share information. When you complete all the courses, you will have a good grasp on the industry, the needs, the products, and the solutions. Remember, too, that you are not alone. Once you are done with this training, you will begin to work with a mentor and a team that will help you.